Did you know that they actually cut off the ears of Quakers for coming back when they had been exiled from the colonies? If they came back once, they cut off one ear. If they came back the second time, they cut off the second ear. And if they caught them the third time, they executed them for their religious convictions. Did you know that only people who professed to be loyal to the established church could occupy positions in the civil government? And also, the government paid the salaries of the ministers, interestingly enough. And so the church and the state were joined together, and as a result, you had persecution. You know, many people know the story, for example, of Roger Williams. Roger Williams arrived in the colonies in 1629. He pastored a church there, but he started teaching separation of church and state. He said there are to be two kingdoms in this country. Absolutely, but they're supposed to be separate, one from another, because that's what Jesus taught. Are you seeing what the two horns are? Jesus said, two kingdoms in the same nation, separate one from another. And of course, what he was teaching went over like a lead balloon. And so they banished him from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. And he himself says that towards the end of 1635 and the beginning of 1636, he had to flee for 3 weeks through huge snowdrifts to get out of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, because he had been banished, and if they found him in there, they could throw him in prison or they could even execute him. And so he ended up in Rhode Island, and he established the capital of Rhode Island, which is Providence. That's interesting that he would call that city Providence. And so the founding fathers knew the history of what happens when church and state are united together in Europe. They knew what happened when church and state are joined together in the United States in the colonial period. They also knew their Bibles. In several places, they wrote about how they knew that because the Jews allied themselves with the Roman state, that led to the death of Jesus Christ. They knew three things. They knew the history of Europe in the Middle Ages, they knew the colonial period, and they knew their Bibles. And they knew that when these two kingdoms become one, automatically there is persecution. And so the constitutional fathers, knowing this, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence in 1776, and the Constitution was ratified in 1787, and the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, was ratified in 1791. They said, we're going to have a different system of government in this nation that we're establishing. We are going to have, yes, church and state, but church and state are going to be separated like Jesus taught. Two kingdoms in one nation. The same two kingdoms that Jesus Christ recognized. And remember that this is taking place immediately before the first beast received its deadly wound. By the way, this idea of the separation of church and state is known as republicanism and Protestantism. You see, during the Middle Ages, what happened is, in civil affairs, the king was the law.